Hi everyone, thank you for joining me. In this video I'm going to be talking about my selection of knives, and I'm going to recommend a knife that you might want. So you might be looking on the market for a knife, you might have just got into bushcraft, or you're looking to invest in another one. So I'm going to give you some ideas of a knife that you might want to purchase either now or in the future. So I've got quite a diverse range, some are quite similar. I'm going to go through each one, talk about it, why I got it, and the pros and cons of each one. Everybody gets a knife for different reasons. There's so many different outdoor hobbies, and the reasoning that you need to get a knife can be completely opposite to somebody else. So some people might purchase a knife to do a lot of hunting and skinning and cooking, and someone might be using it for carving, woodwork, and somebody might be just using it for an all-round good bushcraft knife for lighting fires, a little bit of carving, and can be used for cooking. So that's what I kind of went for. I wanted an all-round knife that could be used for different things, really diverse, and could be used for pretty much everything. So I've got my piece of paper with some of the pros and cons, and I'm just going to go through the knives now. So I hope you enjoy this video, and I hope you find it useful. First knife I want to talk about is the Castrom No. 10 Swedish forest knife. So this is a pretty much all-round knife. Castrom are a very well-known and renowned company, so most of you might have heard of this knife before. I've only recently got this, so I've just been trying it out, seeing what it's like. So it comes in this lovely brown leather sheath that has the ferro rod mount to it also. So it comes with a tiny little ferro rod with a wooden handle also, and this stretchy elastic strap. So I like these little mini ferro rods that you can get, especially when they mount onto your sheath. It has a little hole here so it can fit nicely in your belt, and what I like about this is it comes with a left and a right-handed sheath. I myself am left-handed. When I go and buy a knife, I ideally want a left-handed sheath, and that's perfect because this one is. Okay, now talk about the knife. It has a curly birch handle, it is full tang, and it also has a little black liner that has been placed between the wood and the actual blade on the handle. It has a little hole at the end if you wanted to thread through some paracord or something like that. The handle also has a little dent at the front, as you can see, and this contributes to the grip when you're holding it, so you get a nice grip when you're working for a long period of time. There's two materials you can choose from, either a stainless steel or carbon steel. I guess it's just down to personal preference. So yeah, there's some of the features for this knife. So yeah, this has a lot of great features. It's a really all-rounded knife. It's a good size as well, and it's got a really nice handle for gripping and using for a long period of time. It's comfortable, and that's something that you should look for when choosing a knife. Another thing when you're choosing your bushcraft knife is having a knife that is quite easy to sharpen and keeps its edge for quite a long time. You don't want a knife that you've got to keep constantly sharpening, because that can be quite frustrating. I also like that it has a nice 90-degree spine, so when you want to use it on your ferro rod, that's a perfect idea. If you do usually rely on a lighter to light fires, you can always have this backup on you, but you can see that it's very well built. It's a really strong knife, but a very good looking knife as well. And it's nice how they put this dent into the handle to think about comfortability while you're working with it for a long periods of time. This knife can be used for batoning, for lighting fires with the 90-degree spine, but also can be used for carving. I think personally the blade is a little bit too thick if you were wanting to use it for cooking and cutting up vegetables and things like that, but it could be used, but it just won't be the most practical. So that is the wonderful Castrom number 10 forest knife with the curly birch handle. I've probably mentioned before in previous knives that I love the wooden handle. It's brilliant, absolutely wonderful when you get a wooden handle. It's just a lot more comfortable and nicer to hold, and they also look really nice when you put some varnish on them, like linseed oil, as well as the little ferro rod handle. So that is the Castrom knife. I will leave links to all of these knives in the description so you can have a look if you are interested in any of these. But yeah, there we go. That is our first knife done and dusted. I am currently using that knife at the minute out of the mall, just trying to get used to it. Like I said, it's a new knife, so I just want to use it, test it out on different things. I recently used it with feather sticks and it's been brilliant. Because of the Scandi grind, it's really nice for doing that. And it's also great for sharpening. I've been stropping in it recently and it's been keeping its sharp blade, so I'm really pleased with that. Right, so the next knife I want to speak about is the Tbs bore. I've owned this knife it's been the second longest actually out of all of these. This was the first proper knife that I bought and I was really excited. So it's got a lot of memories, it's been through a lot with me, and it's a really trusty and robust knife. Yet again, it's got the leather sheath, which is brilliant. I'm more leaning towards leather sheaths if I had to pick a knife. The reason I prefer leather sheaths are because they're more comfortable to wear in my opinion. They can have a lot of add-ons onto the sides, just like the ferro rod holder, but also a little sharpening stone. I can actually do that with the bore, but I haven't. They protect the knife really well. They also, if you oil the knife, they keep it nice and moist so it doesn't rust. They're quite secure, so you're not going to get debris going down into the sheath and scratching the blade. So this one is a little bit different to the Castrom sheath. On the back it has the top belt loop and the side loop, so you can wear it horizontally, and it also has a buckle, so it's nice and secure in there as well. So with the bore, I've actually got some upsetting news. This used to be my main bushcraft knife that I'd use all the time. I only use this knife, I didn't own any others. But basically I haven't used it in a while. I mainly have been sticking to my other knife here, and yeah, so I just wanted to be real and show you what can happen to a carbon steel blade when it isn't maintained correctly. So because I've left this knife and I haven't bothered with it for quite a long time, because it hasn't been my ideal knife, which is probably a negative of owning too many knives and tools, that you lose track of maintaining them all. Anyway, this is an example how leather can soak up moisture and can sort of damage your blade, or the blade has gone away damp or wet and it just ruins it. So you can sort of see now, I think, but I'll show you a close-up of how carbon steel goes. It can rust and corrode really easily, so this can easily come out. I'll just have to work it a little bit, but I shouldn't have let it get to this state, so that's my fault personally, but this is what can happen. That's probably why carbon steel are harder to maintain. So yeah, this is already, you can see, a much bigger blade, a much bigger knife. This is one of the biggest knives I own, and I like that because it can be great for doing bigger tasks like splitting wood. Not everyone likes batoning wood. You just think, why don't you just use an axe? But sometimes you might not be carrying an axe and a hatchet, and this can just replace that job. But it can also be very diverse and do feather sticks. I learnt to make feather sticks on this knife, and it can also do some carving as well, the initial stages. If you're quite skillful with carving, then I'm sure you can do some pretty good things with this. Okay, let's talking about how it has been maintained not the best and corroded. So that is something I need to do. It's happened before actually, and it's all come out, so it can be treated when you look after it. Like I said, look after your gear looks after you. This is clearly because it hasn't been kept well. Another reason why you should always put your knives away dry, so either carry a cloth to dry them off and get any moisture off the blade. So the carbon steel blade can definitely hold its edge longer. It's easier to sharpen, and it can also be used with a ferro rod. So the 90-degree spine can be used for lighting fires. Like the Castrom, the bore has a Scandi grind, which is super sharp, especially straight out the box. And it can have its edge. The edge can last a long time when it's stropped regularly. It's also got a timber handle. This is olive wood, so usually a lot of people go for curly birch, but I went for a different one. So with the handles, obviously they're lovely, but it's another maintaining thing. So by putting linseed oil on it, gives it a really nice varnish look and just keeps it maintained so the wood doesn't crack. I used to oil this quite a lot, that's probably why it's got this dark finish on it now. Again, this is full tang, which is a great feature when you're getting a knife. It just makes it very, very strong, especially if you're planning on using it, really putting it through its paces. And you know with this it's going to last a long time. It's very robust and lasts for a long duration. And that's what I like about these knives. You pay the money, but you're not going to be buying a lot of times. If you buy cheap, you buy twice, I usually go with. So this is a quality knife, and I think it is definitely worth the money. What I like about it as well is it's English, so the Bushcraft store is based in England, so that's a bonus, I guess. I'm from England myself. Brilliant, so that is the TBS bore with the olive wood handle. That is another alternative, bigger knife for a lot of different jobs. The TBS range do loads of different sizes. I will be covering a TBS knife in a minute. And the one up from this is the Grizzly, just from doing bigger tasks. It depends on what you're doing, yet again. The next knife I'm going to be looking at is the Tbs Armor Picot. So this has been my go-to bushcraft knife for quite a while now. This is what I've been using before I went over to the Castrom. So I'm just using the Castrom at the minute, seeing what I like about it. I think it's nice to mix up different knives and see what you like. You might use a knife for one thing and a knife for another. It's good to have a range of different tools and kind of mix it up. Anyway, the reason why I love this, just to start off with the sheath, is look at all the components on this knife. It has the mini ferro rod mount. It's got the DC4 mount on there. So already I've got a really good knife to take out with me that's got a way of sharpening while I'm in the field and a way of starting a fire. So my little ferro rod here comes with a mini striker, so I don't always have to wear out my 90-degree spine. Usually when you do use the ferro rods, it can wear the spines out quite badly. Yet again, the little ferro rod's got the matching wood that's on the handle of the blade, so that's a really nice feature. So this is a low composite ferro rod, so it's really easy to strike. So you can do small sparks with it to get a fire going. The striker is actually right-handed, which causes me some problems getting there. I guess I just gotta become ambidextrous when using this. And then we have the little DC4 mount in there as well. That has been used a lot, as you can see. So it's got two sides. One is more like a strop, and the other side is quite a low grade, a fine grade on there. So this also comes with a really nice lever. This has the belt loop, so you can hang it on your belt, but it also gives you that the opportunity to have this loop. So it's giving you 3 options for how you want to carry your knife, and also having it on the side so it slips onto your belt like that, and you can take it out that way. This comes with a buckle to keep it nice and secure in your sheath. And you can see that it's quite a little bit smaller than the bore. Has the curly birch handle, also the loop in the end for putting paracord or anything through. It has full tang, and with this one you can see it has the red liner between the wood and the actual blade. Also with this make of knife, the Armor Picot, comes with a folding knife, which is really brilliant. So you can get it and it folds in, so that could be really good for transporting it around, just having it as a little pocket knife instead of a fixed blade. So this is a stainless steel blade. It is 4mm thick, so it's got quite a thick blade, 90-degree spine on there, which has started many fires for me. The only thing you've got to watch is that you maintain the 90-degree spine, because it will just eventually round off and you won't be able to use it on your ferro rod. So it's got a curly birch handle, and it's got a really comfortable handle. I've used it for a long time and it's been really great. Sits in my hand really nice. And TBS really work on the ergonomics of the handle to make sure that the handle's really nice and snug in your hand and can be used for long periods of time. The worst thing ever is when you're using a knife and your hand aches and you can't use it for very long. You've got to put it down and rest. So yeah, this is a brilliant trusty knife, and I've loved using it. I've probably been using it for about a year now, something like that, and it's been an all-round bushcraft knife. It's quite big, but it's not over the top, so it can be used for a lot of different tasks. Again though, the blade is very thick when I go and cut vegetables. I think I've cut some vegetables for a spaghetti bolognese before, and the blade's been so thick it just crushes the vegetables, especially tomatoes, soft vegetables like that. So it's better to either carry a different knife for cutting and doing your skinning and things like that. So different knives for different things, I guess. But apart from that, it's been really great. So that is the TBS Armor Picot knife. So I think the 3 knives that I've just covered there are very, very similar, and they offer similar sort of things. All 3 of them have full tang blades, which is a great feature if you're looking for a knife. Next up is the Mora Companion. This is my first ever knife. So when I first ever got into bushcraft and all this sort of thing, I think it was at 15, that was my first knife. So it's still going. It's been going really well for me. Mora are also a company based over in Sweden. They make really nice knives that are for a great price. So if you're really looking for a budget knife, you don't want to spend too much on one, then Maura is the way to go. So this is available in both carbon steel and stainless steel, so you've got the option depending on what you prefer. You can notice straight away that the sheath is actually sort of a kydex material, it's not leather. Me personally, I prefer a leather sheath. I feel like these don't feel as nice, like when you're attaching them to your belt. It's not very stable, I don't think, personally. Right, so now onto the blade. It has Scandinavian grind. It is 3/4 tang, so it's not full tang like the previous 3. so this isn't as strong, I would say. You can see already it is a much smaller knife. It isn't very thick like the other ones. And this is more ideal, I'd say, for a cooking knife or if you wanted to do skinning than the other three. So that is better when it comes to that. This also has a 90-degree spine, which has been absolutely battered because I've used it so much in the beginning when I wasn't sure on how to use a ferro rod. That is when I mostly practiced on this knife, so it has taken a real battering. It's got a thumb grip on here, so it's protected if you end up slipping with your hand, and it's got a rubber handle, so that is really nice and grippy and nice to hold. I'm not sure for a long period of time, and it's also really lightweight, so this is really good for hiking and things. It's got the lightweight knife and the lightweight sheath, where these, you can feel already that they're a lot heavier than this one. Also with the belt loop, you can clip it onto pretty much anything, which is quite good actually. So I could just clip it onto this. You wouldn't really carry a knife here, but it's just an example to show you what it's like. So you can just clip it onto there, and say you did want to carry your knife there. That is quite a good place to have it. Sadly, they only do a right-handed sheath with this. I don't know if this has changed, but that was what it was like when I bought it. So if you're left-handed, then you're going to be a bit let down with this. This is also carbon steel. You can see it has slightly started to corrode on the blade, but brilliant for the price. Like I said, a lot of Mora knives are quite cheap as well. It's not just the Companion. Bushcraft Black is also a really good knife by Maura. It's a bit bigger, a bit more diverse. It's a great knife, but it's a little bit more money. I also own the Mora Eldress neck knife by them, and I love it. It's a great little knife. It's really small, easy to carry, and I've actually done a review video on that if you'd like to have a look, if you're interested in that. Next knife, we're getting through them now, is the Survival Lilly Apo 1 knife. So pretty much everyone who's watching this video will know Survival Lilly. She's got an amazing channel, and I think it was about a year ago actually, time flies, she designed her own knife. So this knife she designed, so if there was an apocalypse, this would be the knife that she'd want to take, and she wanted a knife that was all rounded and really good if you had to have a survival knife. So here it is. Already you can see it is a really big blade. I think it is the biggest knife I own actually. It is bigger than the bore. It has the Kydex sheath here, which makes it a bit more lightweight, like I mentioned earlier, and it's got this fabric so you can clip it onto your belt with the buckle on there. So belt loop on the end. I'm not a huge fan of the sheaths. I'm just going to say that is my opinion. I do prefer leather sheaths, but it's down to your personal preference. It has a nice security on it though, with 2 buckles, so it's nice and secure, and the clip system, you can hear that popping. So I like that it's nice and secure on there. Right, so here is the knife. You can see it is absolutely huge. It has full tang, which is a brilliant feature, makes it extra strong, especially if you wanted to use it for a survival knife. Has the 90-degree spine, which I have used before, and it gives off some really good sparks on this knife actually. It's got a little thumb grip here on the edge of the blade, so you can get a nice grip system going. It is stainless steel. It has a flat top, which is great for if you wanted to do batoning with it. Survival Lilly does do a lot of batoning in her videos, so that's probably why she designed that feature on there. If you didn't have a hatchet or an axe, and you did have to rely on your knife, like in a survival situation, then you can have the ability to baton wood and get some dry wood if you were doing a wet weather fire or something. It's got a hammer at the end with a lanyard hole, so you can have a hammer for smashing things. Maybe you want to smash in some pegs. But yeah, there you go. That is the Survival Lilly's knife. I will put a link to that also in the description. But also, by buying this knife will help support her and her channel out as well. And she's got a great channel. She's also done a video on this. I've done a review video on this before. Yeah, it's just a great knife to just mess around with. It's really strong and hardcore. If you're going to do something, you really want to beat it up, you know it's not going to just break on you. It feels really strong in your hand. There we go. Clips in really nice, and it's got that buckle just to give it that extra security. There we go. That is the Survival Lilly APO 1 Apocalypse 1 knife. Right, so the last knife that I want to talk about is this one. I was kindly given it by a really nice friend of mine, John from Somerset, and I'm really happy with the knife. It was a really kind gesture. He had been using it for years and years, and he's got to the point where he said he's getting old now and he doesn't get out as much and he doesn't really use it, and he wanted it to pass it on to someone who would get a good use out of it, and maybe pass it down in my family. That's what he said. So yeah, that was a really lovely gesture. It's definitely a really nice knife and something that I will be using, and I have been using. So it comes in this material sheath, as you can see, and it's got a belt loop on there so it clips onto your belt. This is a really lightweight sheath as well, and it's got a bit of velcro to secure it in. So you can see already this is a very different knife to what I have been reviewing so far, and it's got a wooden handle on there, which is really nice. I'm not sure of the wood. It's actually a Valor knife. I couldn't find the exact model. It's got this dip design in it, just like the Castrom one. So this is really great for when you're holding it. It's really nice and comfortable in your hand, and I like that feature. This is full tang, as you can see. It's got a thumb grip at the end of the blade. It's a very thin blade as well, and he said that he'd been using it a lot for skinning. He skins deers and rabbit and things like that. I used it for cutting vegetables and my food the other day, and it was perfect. It was ideal because it's got such a thin blade on there, so that really helps it out. Also has the lanyard loop at the end. It has a rough 90-degree spine on there. I did use it and it did perform really well. I'm not too sure what the grind is. It definitely isn't Scandi grind on here. I'm not too sure what it is, but it's been really nice to sharpen, and it does keep a good edge on there. So yeah, this is the Valor knife from John. So thank you so much for this, really kind gesture, and I will definitely be using that. Right, so there's all my knives that I've just gone through. Hopefully you like one of them and you're interested and you want to go out and use one. Maybe you were looking into getting a new knife or getting your first knife, and there's obviously different options here. If you want one for a good budget, maybe it's your first knife and you really want to go out and get one, then I go with the Mora. Maybe if you wanted a survival knife that's really hardcore and can do a lot of really savage jobs, then go with Survival Lilly's. If you wanted a hunting sort of skinning knife, then the Valor is really great for that. And if you wanted sort of an all-round bushcraft knife that can cover a lot of topics, and you want to carry on you for multi-purpose, and maybe you want a knife that's also got a little mini ferro rod and a sharpening stone, then I go for one of these three, the the TBS or the Castrom. Brilliant knives. Castrom and TBS also do folding knives that you can use and carry with you. So they're small, compact folding knives. I think Castrom do the Lars felt folding knife, and it's brilliant, absolutely amazing, with the curly birch handle again. And obviously if Lars felt uses it, it's got to be a really quality knife. So this is choosing a bushcraft knife on my Bushcraft Essentials series. I will be posting more videos on here. Please leave in the comments if you've got any ideas or something that you want me to cover, and I will get round to it. But yeah, I know a lot of people did ask about what knives I use, what knives I recommend, and they want to get into bushcraft, what knife would they like, and what would be suited for them. I think a woman asked me what knife should I get, as I'm a woman. I think it really doesn't matter what gender you are, as long as you're safe with the knife, you maintain it like I have with my boar, and yeah, you're using it correctly, you're being safe with it, and you know the triangle, keeping this area safe while you're using a knife, keeping away from any arteries, and just keeping away from your body and aiming the knife away from you. Obviously the more comfortable you get with the knife and the more experience, then you can start working towards you and just playing around with the knife, getting used to it. There is plenty and plenty of videos on the internet with other knives that you might want, or how to use a knife, how to be safe with a knife, and maybe that's another video I could do if that's something you'd like to see. So thank you so much for watching this video. I really appreciate all of your support. I am thinking of doing a giveaway very shortly, so I need to get on to that. So make sure you keep a lookout for that. I have done a review on the TBS bore and also the Mora Eldress neck knife, if you want to have a look at these, and also the Survival Lilly knife. So I have reviewed quite a few of these, and I will put the links all in the description. Thank you everyone for subscribing to my channel. Thank you to all my wonderful Patreons for making these videos possible. I hope you all have a lovely day and take care.